Welcome, dear listener, to another peaceful journey through time. Tonight, we drift back to the early days of America, to a time of lantern light, handwritten letters, and the quiet strength of a man who helped shape a nation. Let your worries rest, close your eyes if you wish, and join me as we explore the gentle, powerful story of George Washington, the gentle giant of liberty. Are you ready to begin? On a quiet February day in 1732, in the peaceful colony of Virginia, a boy named George Washington was born. His family lived on a small plantation nestled between soft green hills and winding rivers. George was the oldest of 6 children from his father's second marriage, and even as a child, he had a calm and serious way about him. He loved the outdoors, the sound of birds, the hush of the forest, and the whisper of the wind through the trees. But he also loved learning. Though George had little formal education, he taught himself by reading and practicing discipline in everything he did. Have you ever felt like nature has a lesson to teach you? George did. He believed quiet moments made us stronger inside. When George was just 11, he lost his father. It was a heavy burden, but it made him grow up fast. He began helping manage the family land, writing down everything carefully in neat, precise handwriting. He learned the value of honesty, hard work, and patience. He became a skilled surveyor, walking miles through forests and mountains to measure land for settlers. This job taught him something else: how to navigate not only through trees, but through life. What's the toughest thing you've had to learn young? George's challenges made him wiser, not bitter. By his early 20s, George joined the Virginia militia and stepped into a world of war and diplomacy. He fought in the French and Indian War, leading men through harsh winters and tough battles. Though young and still learning, he never let pride guide him. He made mistakes, yes, but he always reflected on them, asking, "How can I do better next time?" That humble question would follow him all his life. When was the last time you learned from a mistake instead of hiding from it? After the war, George returned to Mount Vernon, his family's estate. He married Martha Custis, a kind and wise widow, and became a stepfather to her children. George found joy in farming, watching seeds become harvests, just as his own efforts had grown into wisdom. He cared for his land and his workers, though, like many of his time, he owned enslaved people. This part of his life is painful to remember, but it is true. And in his later years, George struggled with it deeply. In his will, he made the decision to free all the enslaved people he owned, a powerful choice at a time when few did. What would you do if you realized a part of your life needed to change? Would you have the courage to act? In 1775, the colonies were growing restless under British rule. The people wanted freedom, to make their own choices, speak their truths, and live in peace. George Washington was chosen as commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. Not because he wanted power, but because he didn't. He took the role with grace and great humility, leading an underprepared army against one of the strongest military forces in the world. Through freezing winters, low supplies, and near defeat, George stood firm, calm, and hopeful. He never gave up, because he knew the cause was bigger than himself. What keeps you going when things get tough? After 8 long years of war, victory came at last. The colonies were free. Many wanted George to become king, but he refused. Instead, he quietly returned to Mount Vernon, content to be a farmer once more. But the new country needed him again. In 1789, George became the first president of the United States. He led with patience, grace, and deep wisdom. He avoided political parties, promoted peace, and served only 2 terms before stepping down, setting an example that leaders still follow today. Do you believe true leaders are the ones who let go of power, rather than chase it? In his final years, George returned home, walking the fields he loved, tending to gardens, and writing letters. He passed away peacefully in 1799, surrounded by the land and people he cherished. His final words were as calm as his life: "'Tis well." Even now, more than 200 years later, His legacy lives on, not in gold or riches, but in character, courage, and care. What legacy would you want to leave behind? Not in things, but in how you made others feel. George Washington's life teaches us that strength isn't in shouting or showing off. It's in quiet service, honest work, and humble leadership. He wasn't perfect, but he grew, learned, and led with heart. And in doing so, he helped shape a nation. Let us remember, true greatness lies not in power, but in purpose. Good night, dear listener, and may you lead with gentle strength, just like George. And so, the story of George Washington comes to a gentle close. A man who showed us that true strength lies not in loud words or grand displays, but in calm decisions, steady hearts, and quiet courage. As you drift into rest, may you carry with you a little of his peaceful strength. Good night, dreamer, and may your own story be just as kind.